When you have a moment, I'd like to speak to you. Sorry to pull you aside like this, but I wanted to take a moment to congratulate you. Taking those steps to eradicate the terrormorph threat is essential to the safety of every living thing in the settled systems. You should be proud. Yes, exactly. I'm glad you treated the situation with the urgency it deserved. I only wish that the United Colonies chose to exterminate the terrormorphs with the experimental microbe, instead of choosing this ridiculous Aceles solution. Apparently, their decision was based on your recommendation. That was a risky choice you've made. Minimal risk. Are you sure? The Aceles solution might take years, perhaps even decades. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking for humankind. That sounds far too risky to me. You've already seen how much destruction just a few terrormorphs can cause. While we wait for the Aceles to naturally prey upon them, we have to spend time and resources defending ourselves. How many human lives will be lost due to the wait? Why should we wall ourselves in when we could simply eradicate them in one fell swoop? The science was at our disposal, and now we've cast that aside. I fear for the future. Well, I'm disappointed that you didn't trust the science. Thankfully, the eradication of the Lazarus plant gives the Aceles a bit more time to do their job. You haven't let me down. You've simply given me cause for concern. I'll tell you what, let's put this past us, shall we? I'm sure everything will work out in the end. I'm sorry if I've hurt you in any way. I wouldn't want anything like this to come between us.
Do you need me for something?
It is a relief to know that the terrormorphs are being dealt with. But are you sure this Aceles creature is the right way to do it? Where terrormorphs are concerned, I do not believe there is a way to remove risk from the equation. Perhaps an experimental microbe has its own risks, but what of the risks to who knows how many human lives until the Aceles can do its job? I appreciate your conviction. I suppose time will tell. I will say, though, that I am glad you convinced them to destroy the Lazarus plant. Terrormorphs are enough of a worry on their own. The idea that they could appear anywhere, at any time. Ugh. Well, it is good to know that this particular threat is behind us, and you have done a service to all who live in the settled systems.
Balancing risk versus reward is tricky. Even more so. So, you really think the Aceles are going to work out, huh? You must have seen some data that I didn't. Everything has a chance to mutate, and most mutations are harmless. But I get it. It's scary. It's definitely riskier than dropping off some wild animals. Oh well, it's done. At least with the extermination of the Lazarus plant, the Aceles will have an easier time. Given the length of time needed to deploy the Aceles, combined with the amount of time needed to hunt down all the terrormorphs, it's going to be a while before we know if that's enough.
Come
Read
on.
my book.
There are worlds to conquer.
Yeah, the way
Two
you
of us
handle
make
things,
quite the pair, eh?
not bad.
Sorry to pull you aside like that. Taking those steps to eradicate the terrormorph. Yes, exactly. I'm glad you treated the situation with the urgency. Well, I'm relieved that the United Colonies agreed to use their genetically engineered microbe to exterminate the terrormorphs. Apparently, their decision was based on your recommendation. That was a smart choice you've made. A solid scientific decision. That's a wise decision. Besides, if Chief Engineer Kulkarni believes that the microbe will be effective, then we have to trust her experience. Good, good. I wouldn't want you to think it was some kind of mistake. Your decision, coupled with the eradication of the Lazarus plant, has made the settled systems a safer place to live for years to come. Oh, well, of course. I'm happy to be there for you. If there's anything else you ever feel like discussing, you let me know.
It is a relief to know that the terrormorphs are being dealt with. I wanted to tell you that I think you made the right decision. The microbes will ensure this is not a problem for much longer. Agreed. There's no point in risking further lives to deal with them. I only hope that using these microbes does not create more unforeseen problems later on. I admire your confidence, and I do hope you are right. I will say, though, that I am glad you convinced them to destroy the Lazarus plant. Terrormorphs are enough. Well, it is good to know that this part